Alright, welcome back. It would time to take a look at the Strv 103, which is the first Swedish tank platoon in the game. And I have to say, this is a very good looking vehicle. I love the design of this thing. It looks terrifying, and it is also terrifying in combat, although this is one of the more difficult vehicles to drive around because it has a very unique way of, well, it has unique controls, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now let's take a look at the characteristics of this thing. So it has a 105mm main gun. It is very fast. 49 km/h is the top speed. Reverse is 44 km/h, but I would say the reverse speed has better acceleration, and that is also quite helpful for this vehicle. Specific power is 18 horsepower per ton, mass 43 tons. It has 3 crew members. This is a autoloader. Has a very nice rate of fire. 258mm is the average penetration. 4 seconds is the reload, which is fantastic for this vehicle and for this gun. 30 degrees per second is the turret rotation. Now, turret rotation doesn't mean that the gun is moving by itself. The whole vehicle is moving. You can't rotate the gun because the gun is basically stationary, but you have to move the whole vehicle in order to move the aim and to aim at the target. Now the armor, it is extremely sloped. The frontal slope is ridiculous, and most of the AP shells will bounce off or ricochet. It also has this forward like fence. This is to protect against high explosive heat FS. It also protects against ATGMs, but it may not protect against the so-called dart, which is APFSDS, which can technically penetrate even this slope. Although I usually like to shoot the lower plate on the Strv, because usually the lower plate is where you will penetrate this vehicle. Don't shoot the top armor, shoot the lower plates. That's where the armor is in. Now the sides and the rear is paper, so anything can penetrate the side armor on this thing. Now let me show you the different ammo types that this tank has. It is a very interesting vehicle. I love it, and personally might be one of my favorite tanks at town. So the SLPP RJ-M62 is the classic APDS ammo. The default ammo is the APDS ammo, which is fantastic. It's basically making the start with this vehicle very easy. It penetrates 260mm at 100 meters and 250mm at half a kilometer. Smallest angle is 80 degrees. It also has high explosive, which is good against lightly armored vehicles. 23mm penetration, 1.83 kilograms is the TNT equivalent, and fuse sensitivity is 0.1mm, so very good against lightly armored vehicles. It also has hash ammo, which has a bit more penetrating power, 130mm at all distances, and it has 3.15 kilograms of TNT. Very good for overpressuring enemy tanks. And my favorite ammo on this tank, APFSDS armor piercing, fin stabilized discarding saber shell, penetrates 340mm at 100 meters and penetrates 350mm at 500 meters, which is basically the ammo that I use. So you will not have any issues with penetrating anything, because you will be able to just shred any tank that is on the field. Now I also will have ray tracing enabled, just to see how the game will work. Although probably not a good idea, but it will be fun since this is a new device, much faster than the previous one, and as you can see, it already supports all the latest technology. So it will be fun to see how this monstrosity works. So let's roll out. Now, when you drive this tank for the very first time, you might be very confused by the controls. I first thought that my controls were broken because this tank is not going to move or turn left and right on the joystick. On the joystick you can just go forward and backwards. You can't turn with the joystick. In order to turn, you have to move the camera left or right, which makes this vehicle a bit, let's say, difficult to control. Definitely one of the hardest to control vehicles in the game at the moment. Although I can kind of understand why they did something like that, because this tank has a fixed gun. It can't, the gun itself can't move, and in order to aim left or right, you basically have to move the vehicle left or right. And in order to make that easier, they just made it so the tank can turn on the joystick. You have to rotate the camera and the tank rotates with it. It does take some time to get used to, and definitely has a learning curve to it. It's one of the more difficult tanks to drive, that's for sure. It takes some time to learn how to operate with the Strv, but I have to say I kind of like how this works. Makes aiming easier, that's for sure. At least for me, it made aiming a bit easier, but it also made maneuvering and driving the vehicle a bit more difficult, because usually when I drive around, I like to look around to see where the enemies are. You don't want to move into a corner where 5 tanks are just camping and waiting for you. With the Strv, you can't really turn around and just look without the tank moving, because if you turn the camera, the tank moves with the camera. So that's one of the drawbacks with the current controls for this vehicle. Again, this is the only tank that has these controls, and I believe in the future of the game there will be even more tanks with odd controls. I'm not really complaining about the controls on this vehicle. I personally find them quite interesting, and honestly it feels like a totally different vehicle. So I kind of like how the aiming works. Makes aiming easier. After all, this is a tank destroyer. It's built to sit somewhere far away. Sloped. This is a sloped, low-profile vehicle. You can easily hide this vehicle behind a small hill or behind some rubble. Basically, positions where you can hide the lower plate are perfect for this vehicle. And also, this thing can move up and down very well. It has a very interesting mechanical aspect to it, as you will see. The tracks can raise or basically lower the vehicle, can increase the angle, can decrease the angle. It has a lot of different things. And at first the controls on the Strv were a little bit wobbly, but later on I think they fixed it. It doesn't really wobble that much. Well, it does still have this, well, not exactly wobble, but it takes a second or two for the aim to stabilize, basically. And that's when the tracks itself are going up and down. Now the autoloader, the main gun on this thing, I forgot to talk about the main gun. The main gun on the Strv is fantastic. I would say maybe one of the best performing guns within the tier. The 4-second autoloader is absolutely amazing. You can spit out shell after shell after shell in a very quick succession, which improves the destructive power on this thing a lot. Even if you miss the first shot, the second one is going to land at the target. And this thing is a menace if it's positioned properly. Now the maps are, I would say, maybe a little bit small for the Strv, because this vehicle is designed to be used at very long distance. This is a sniper. I mean, you can't really run around with this vehicle with a fixed turret. That means that even if, let's say, your tracks gets blown off or your engine gets damaged. The engine or the transmission get damaged very easily. So if you lose the track or the engine, you can't move the tank, you can't aim, you can't rotate. That's one of the factors why I'm saying that this thing is built to be a long-range sniper, and it should engage enemies at a very long distance. And there are positions that are perfect for this vehicle. So far, I really enjoyed driving it. It's a very interesting vehicle. Has no issues with any type of armor. It penetrates basically everything, and might very well be one of the best tank destroyers in the game right now, with the best performing gun and with the fastest loading mechanism out of any tank at the moment. 4 seconds reload with 350mm penetration. That is wild. And this tank is just, I mean, I don't know, I've heard that a lot of players don't like the STRV, and I can kind of see why. It's a difficult tank to control, that's for sure. The controls, you need to learn the controls. Basically, you have to learn how to drive this tank. So the control, yeah, that's something I can agree on. The controls are not easy, that's for sure. But I like them. I personally really do like them. Now the reverse speed is ridiculous. This is one of the tanks that has a better reverse than forward, and in a lot of situations I actually move backwards, then I go forwards, because if I go backwards I can keep my gun forward, so I'm not surprised by enemy fire. And this is one of the things that I developed with the tank. Basically, the zigzag pattern that I do on the mouse I learned on the STRV, because I can't move, I can't rotate the camera left and right without moving the tank. So in order to have some form of visibility, I drive the tank backwards, so I can keep my eyes on anything that's basically in front of me. I mean, this is a very interesting vehicle. An absolute monster of a vehicle. And positioning is also very important for the STRV. You will catch a lot of enemies by surprise, because not many know where to shoot it, and even if they do shoot at you, your survivability is actually very high, since it has a very nice sloped armor, and overall the crew is well protected in this tank. So even if you do get hit, you have a good chance to survive, and you do have a chance to put 2 or 3 more shells into the enemy tank, which do increase the chances of the enemy tank blowing up. Before you blow up, of course. That's one of the things that I like about this vehicle. I mean, the firepower on this is absolutely insane. And this is one of the positions where I like to go to. Later in this match, I will show you one more position where you can go with STRV and basically cover most of the vehicle with only the gun and the frontal sloped armor being visible on the field. Again, this tank is designed to be a sniper, and you should use it as a sniper primarily. Don't go to close range combat with the STRV. It's not going to end well, because it can't return the gun. The gun is fixed on the hull, and it's not really designed to be used at close range. This is a sniper. This is absolutely a sniper, and I'm using a PFSDS ammo right now, which is the ammo with the highest penetration, and it's also perfect for sniping, perfect for shooting at weak spots, since it easily penetrates anything that it hits. Now, artillery, bombs, missiles, rockets are valid threats if they're coming from above. If you are being shot by a 80 GM, heat shell, high explosive shell, heat FS, if it hits the fence, I will call it a fence from now because it literally looks like a fence. If they hit the fence on the frontal plate, it's basically going to do no damage. That's the defense that's designed to protect your tank against high explosive and other shells, other projectiles and missiles. This tank also has explosive reactive armor on the sides, I believe. I believe it has some. It has these boxes. I believe that's explosive reactive armor. That's good against high explosive heat. AP in some cases against missiles, although APFSDS, APDS, APC is going to go and overwhelm the explosive reactive armor, or ERA in close, in short. And from my personal experience, I didn't really notice the explosive armor doing much, to be honest. From my personal experience, it's, well, it didn't do much. It does protect in some cases, but I wouldn't be relying on it in most occasions. Cover and long range is the best protection that you can have on the Strv, and this is an example why you should not be using this thing at close range, because I messed up. I wasn't able to move the tank because the joystick can't really rotate, but I managed to troll the T10A, and that was 3 nasty hits in the armor on that thing. If there is one thing that I love about this tank, it's the firepower. It is insane. It spits APFSDS shells like there is no tomorrow. The autoloader is definitely the best thing, and the best feature on this tank is definitely the autoloader and the gun, since it is very accurate. It is extremely accurate. It is a high velocity cannon, and it loads really quickly, so you are not going to waste a lot of time reloading. Basically, you fire one shell and you already have the second one almost prepared and almost ready. Now, this is one very good position for this vehicle on this map. You have a good view on the enemy base, although it's not perfect. It's still very close, and your lower plate is visible. You might get hit in the lower plate, and in order to avoid that, it's best to increase distance, increase range. And I'll be moving backwards. I want to show you one very good position that you can get early on in the game on this map, where you can snipe literally all the enemy tanks, and you can also cover the flanks for your own team. Now I'll just go full speed in reverse. I don't know what's behind me. I'm just going in reverse, and okay, I can keep moving. And this is one of the positions where I like to go with this tank. It is quite far from the base. Most of the lower plate is hidden behind the natural cover of sand. Most tanks are not going to be able to penetrate your armor at this range because it's very sloped and angled, but you will have no issues to spit bullets on the enemy tank. I mean, just look at this rate of fire. It spits bullets shell after shell after shell, and it is so satisfying to use this thing. I would say this might be one of the more satisfying vehicles to use. I absolutely love the rate of fire. Now, preferably, if you are going to use cover for your advantage, make sure that there is no grass to ruin the aim. Now, I run the game with ray tracing and on maximum settings, on medium settings, my apologies, so the grass might be a bit distracting. So yeah, grass and effects can be distracting if you plan to use this tactic, so make sure that you disable the grass in settings when you are doing this, because it's going to make aiming a lot more difficult. The game looks nice, but in all of cases the grass and the effects just get in the way, and I can't aim and can't see anything, which is kinda hilarious, but it is just how it is. And as you can see, from this little position you can cover the whole map basically. You see the flanks, and you also can see the enemy base that is right in front. This is very good for early on in the game. And you have also hidden your lower plate, so they can't hit the weak spots on this vehicle. And that was a very nice victory. A smooth one. A very smooth victory as well, so no complaints from me. Alright, let's go to the next one. Now here my recorder kind of died, so I had to start recording a bit late, but I have one kill, and I'm basically covering this little area. Tactical positioning is very important for this vehicle. Vehicles with fixed main guns really depend on tactical positioning. You want to position the tank in such a way that you are able to shoot, but at the same time you also need to have room for maneuvering, and you also need to have room for completely retracting the vehicle if it is necessary, of course. And as you can see, my engine got blown up and I can't turn, but engine fixed, and the moment the engine is fixed I can keep on shooting. T-54, that T-54 took a lot of damage. I love how I hit the ammo and nothing happened. Now missing with this vehicle is not as unforgiving as when you miss with some of the other vehicles, since the autoloader on the Strv is really fast, so you are not going to have any problems with the reload and with the overall gun performance. That's another Strv. I'm shooting it at the lower plate, and this is basically how you kill a Strv. You shoot it at the lower plate and the tank will either ammo rack or it will basically burn up. Although these things do take a while to burn up, they have a very interesting defense system. And overall very interesting this is probably the most high-tech vehicle in the game at the moment, and that's what's making it very interesting. Now let me get to a different position here. This is definitely, when you get used to this control type, I would say it kind of gets comfortable, but when I was driving this for the first time, yeah, I was confused. Why wasn't my tank responding to my commands? Yeah, the Strv is definitely a very weird vehicle when it comes to maneuvering and when it comes to controls. One of the most odd controls in the game at the moment. And this is also a fantastic position. Now this is a very high velocity shell, so you don't really have to aim forward that much. Although I'm sure overpenetrating that vehicle. I have hash and APDS, or APFSDS and hash. Hash for lightly armored vehicles, APDS or APFSDS for heavily armored vehicles. Both are really useful for the Strv. And this seems to be a victory. A smooth one. That was a nice one. That was a nice one. Okay, and let's go to the next round. Now this vehicle is definitely, well, I'm trying to figure out the main reason why players don't really like the Strv. I mean, I personally like the vehicle. its downsides, its drawbacks are definitely the controls, I would say. It is definitely kind of difficult to get used to the controls. Makes me a bit worried to see. I mean, worried. I'm very interested to see some of the controls that we will have on the future vehicles. Very excited about in the next vehicles. Will be fun to see what the next premium platoon will be. I mean, if they are giving away a premium Strv platoon, I'm definitely getting that, because this tank is definitely 100% worth getting, at least in my case, because of its fantastic firepower. Now, if there is anything that's I like about this vehicle, it's the firepower. It is just unmatched. It's shooting so fast. It's really fun. It feels like a Leopard, but the Leopard, but with a better gun and with better ammo, perhaps, and with a fixed turret. That's how it feels. Now, where should I go? I'm trying to find a rock where I can hide my lower plate, but apparently that's not going to happen, so I guess I'll have to play a bit more actively. That's a 551. Surprisingly, crew knocked out. Okay, that was a good hit. Usually against these lightly armored vehicles, I use one shell to immobilize them, and then the next one will be high explosive or hash loaded. That will basically finish them off, but I guess this also worked just fine. Blew up the tank with no efforts. It also has a machine gun. It has a couple machine guns, but on this tank I rarely use them because, well, no turrets. Actually, it has a turret. Only a machine gun turret for the commander, but I don't really use the machine guns on this tank that often. Usually busy rotating the vehicle and busy shooting with the main gun, since the reload is just so good. One of the tanks where I would say that the machine gun might be useless, but it's nice that the machine gun is still equipped, since you never know when you need it. And there is a D10A. First hit, well, right in the ammo, but didn't explode. Second hit, blew up the tracks and engine. Third hit, tank set on fire, somehow still alive. Fourth hit, knocked out most of the crew. Fifth hit, wrecked the tank even more. Sixth hit, it took 6 hits to kill that tank. Unbelievable. The first hit in the ammo should have been enough to kill it, actually. Not really sure why it took 5-6 hits. But no big problem. After all, this thing is spitting bullets like there's spitting shells like there is no tomorrow. Okay, now I'm trying to see where should I position myself in, since obviously I don't want to get flanked. If you get flanked with this vehicle, it's over, because you can't turn if you get hit in the track or engine. So this vehicle can't really be on the front lines like I am now. This is not how you should drive this vehicle. This is not a tank that should go capture bases. This is a tank that should watch over bases, with sniping. But sometimes when the team doesn't do much, you have to go forward with it and basically risk, which I can do. It's just I prefer to go with this vehicle forward, because again, it's not really suited for that. But it seems like we are going to be winning this match as well. Well, not bad. I haven't had a lot of very good games. I mean, I haven't had like some really good games with the STRV like I did have with the previous vehicles, mostly because of the differences between the vehicles. And this tank is really different, and I'm kind of still learning it myself. I know how I should drive it, and I'm trying to drive it the way it should be driven. And of course, for a good game, I also have to meet some certain, let's say, requirements like luck and stuff like that has to match basically. But in any case, I love this thing. It's the STRV is crazy. This thing is awesome. One of the most fun tank choices that I've had the chance to drive. So I'm a big fan of this tank. So I'm definitely going to be maxing it out. And that will be it for today. It was a very nice little run with the STRV today. Again, fantastic vehicle, and definitely give the tank a try. It's a very rewarding vehicle if you learn how to drive it and if you learn how to use it. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe. As always, I'll see you next time.